Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Imani Rusa and I'm going to show you how I designed and animated this project. So like every great project, it starts off with a sketch. After finishing my sketch, I was able to open Adobe Capture, which is a free application on the phone where you're able to take a picture of your illustration and easily turn it into a vector file, which you can then import into Illustrator. And what's cool is that it's an Adobe application. So it goes straight from your phone, straight to your computer like that, within seconds. It's really cool. Now that I have my graphic imported into Illustrator, I'm going to use it as a blueprint for my final graphic just to make it perfect. Then I'll make my star graphic on the side because I want to incorporate it in the piece several times. Next, I'll go on Adobe Color and find a color palette. I'm thinking some princess vibes. Now that I have my color, I'm going to start creating the first idea I drew in the sketch. Once I had everything in, I realized it's aight, and maybe I should start thinking of another idea. I went outside in my backyard and saw these pink clouds in the sky, and I got instant inspiration, and I wanted to implement those colors into my concept. When I'm coming up with concepts, I try to jot down concepts that stem from the original idea. So here we have pink skies. So I wrote down outside, clouds, trees, plants, butterflies, and then I just start creating from that. So I had previously created some plants that I never got to use for a different project, so I just grabbed those from the other Illustrator file. One big thing I've learned over the years is staying consistent. So the 7 and the K have a gradient, which means if I'm going to start implementing gradients, I need to put that throughout the whole piece. Next is the second graphic, the thank you. I wanted to incorporate aspects of Instagram like the heart, the new follow button, the comment button. Then I wanted to add these little bubbles because I felt like it fit the theme. I just wanted to make a graphic that represented me and my art. Incorporate some of those gradients like the first graphic just to keep it consistent. And now it's time to animate, but instead of importing the Illustrator file, we're gonna use this plugin called Overlord. It's literally one of the best plugins ever. It's from Illustrator to After Effects, and it basically imports your Illustrator layers and converts them to shape layers in After Effects. It does all the work for you. Next, I'm gonna start adding the shadow gradients on the clouds. Instead of using the gradients from Illustrator, I'm gonna create my own so that I could animate them in After Effects. When I had imported the design in After Effects, I noticed the top of the 7 was a little lackluster. Even though I had the clouds, I felt like it was missing something, so I incorporated just a little tiny sun. Next thing, I'm going to animate the plants and bend and move them with the wind. So I'm just going to add a bend effect along with a loop expression so that it continues to go and I don't have to keyframe everything. Now I'm going to add the same shadow noise that I had on my clouds and add them onto my plants and leaves. I use a shape layer and add roughened edges and animate that on, then mat the shape layer onto the leaves. To make the butterfly wings flutter, I converted each wing into a 3D layer, then keyframed the orientation of the wings to go up and down. Then in our main comp, I created a path and a shape layer and used the extension create nulls from path, then selected trace path. And what that does is it creates a null and uses the transform properties of that path on the shape layer. So now I can parent that butterfly onto that null and it now has the property of the path and it follows along the path, which is really cool. Next, I cut the leaves at the bottom so that it made it look like the bottom part of the leaves were inside of the 7 and added a little line on the bottom for just design element. Then I added the hearts and the stars that I incorporated in my design. Next, I added a noise texture provided by Ray Dynamic Textures. So for this part, I wanted to reincorporate the circles that I had made in my first design. I tried to make it work, but I just didn't feel like it worked properly in the end, so I just took it out. Here I'm just adding some small detail, like adding the highlights and shadows onto the 7 using the same shadow noise that I used throughout the whole piece. Next, I'm creating a rotation transition so that it match cuts into the next shot, so that in the middle of the rotation, I'll just cut the next shot and it makes it look like it's flowing together. So I'm gonna do the same thing and import my second graphic using Overlord. Then I'm gonna use Text Evo to animate my text in. Then I'll animate the Instagram icons a little bit in the position so that it looks like they're floating. And then for the circles, I want them to have more of movement, so I just had them positioned out so that they were kind of flowing out of the bigger circle. Then I opened up my value graph and started smoothing out like the rotation transition between the two shots. Then finally, I added the texture noise for the background on the 2 shots, which I have created with the shape layer with a small gradient, and then I added a wave warp so that it had a little bit of motion on it, and then use a soft light blending mode to make it kind of just sit well with the background. Change the color to purple just so that it fit the color scheme a little better, and then boom, it's done. Hope that put in perspective on how to make something like this. If you guys would like to follow me on the social medias, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much, guys. Love you.